You are 10 years old, and you are watching your mother sell antibiotics from a folding table at an open-air market in Tbilisi. It is 1996. The Soviet Union has been dead for 5 years, but nobody told the pipes. The heating does not work, the water comes brown, and the hospital where your mother was a pharmacist has not paid salaries since March. She stands behind the table between a man selling car batteries and a woman selling wool socks, and she sells amoxicillin and paracetamol to people who cannot afford the pharmacy. This is not a crime. Not in the way you will later understand crime. This is the ordinary commerce of a country where the official economy collapsed and the unofficial one is the only one that feeds anyone. The black market is not a shadow here. It is the floor. Your father was an engineer at a MiG parts factory. It closed in 1993. He drives a taxi, a beige Lada with no rear window. He makes 15 lari on a good day, $8. Your mother makes 30 from the table. Together, $22. Enough for bread, khachapuri, and the electricity bill that arrives monthly like a small insult. You help carry boxes. You arrange pills in rows. You learn to count change before you learn English verbs. And you learn the first lesson. The law is a luxury. When the law works, people follow it. When it does not, people follow the market. The market cares about supply and demand. Everything else is decoration. This is your life at every level. From the boy carrying boxes to the man moving cargo across borders that exist on maps but not in practice. Level 1, the runner. You quit school? You work for a man named Dado who imports electronics from Turkey in containers declared as household goods. Real value, $80,000. Declared $11,000. The customs officer receives $2,000 per container. He has a wife and 3 children and a salary of 400 lari. The $2,000 is not a bribe to him. It is survival. The same word your mother uses for the folding table. You load trucks, deliver boxes to shops selling Samsung phones at half the official price, pay 200 lari per week, $110, more than your parents combined. You learn the chain, Turkey to Georgia, underdeclared, customs paid, distribute, no VAT, no duty, no tax, every link illegal by the letter, essential by the logic. Remove the chain and 40% of Tbilisi's electronics disappear overnight. You are 16 and you understand something that business schools teach as theory, and customs officers live as practice. Regulation is friction, and friction creates heat, and heat creates opportunity for anyone willing to stand close enough to the fire. You are standing close. You can feel it on your skin. It feels like money. Level 2, the trader. Dado gets arrested, a matter involving a politician's nephew and a Land Cruiser with mismatched VINs. 3 years, the warehouse goes quiet. You take $4,200 in savings and fly to Istanbul. First plane. You sit at the window watching the Black Sea and feel something lift from your chest, the weight of the folding table. For the first time, you are moving towards something instead of surviving something. In the streets behind the Grand Bazaar, the ones tourists do not visit, you find wholesalers selling phones by the pallet. You buy 600 Samsungs at $38 each. Retail in Tbilisi, $95. You arrange shipping through a freight company that does not look carefully at declarations. First shipment profit, $34,200 on $22,800 invested. You reinvest everything. By year's end, $380,000 in electronics through the Istanbul-Tbilisi corridor. Net profit, $142,000. You rent an apartment in Vake. You buy your mother a refrigerator. You buy your father a car that is not a Lada. He accepts without speaking. He drives it to the taxi stand and says nothing because explaining would mean naming the thing his son does, and naming it would make it real in a way silence does not. Level 3, the network. Istanbul is one node. You add Dubai, a free zone where goods enter without duty and leave without questions. You add Odessa, a port where customs officers earn $300 a month and supplement with the same arithmetic that powers every checkpoint in every country where the state pays less than the market demands. Inventory expands. Auto parts, brake pads, alternators, catalytic converters, from Chinese factories producing identical copies of Bosch components at 1/5 the cost. Functional. They work. They just lack the certification that triples the price. 12 people across 4 countries. A bookkeeper recording everything in code based on Georgian folk songs, song titles for product categories, verse numbers for quantities. If police find it, it reads like a man passionate about music. Income, $38,000 per month. You buy 2 apartments in Tbilisi. Cash. Registered under your cousin the dentist, who does not ask questions because the rent pays his office lease. Your risk has changed shape. At 16, you risked a job. At 20, a shipment. Now you risk everything because the network is visible, and visibility in this business is a terminal diagnosis. Level 4, the broker. You stop touching goods. You connect buyers with sellers and take commission. You never see the container, never sign a document. You are a voice on an encrypted call and a percentage on a transaction between people you introduced and stepped away from. The goods change. Electronics are volume, profitable but traceable. You move into commodities. Fuel oil from Russia rerouted through Georgian ports to avoid sanctions. Wheat from Ukraine documented as Kazakh to bypass export quotas. Cigarettes from the UAE shipped to Georgia, smuggled into the EU through Romania in trucks labeled ceramic tiles. You rent an office in a Dubai free zone. Glass desk, 2 chairs, a view of the creek. No employees, no inventory. The room exists so you can say, "My Dubai office," and the phrase creates the impression of legitimacy that allows illegitimate transactions to proceed. Income, $110,000 per month. You wire $15,000 to your mother. She moved to Metsketa, a house with a garden where she grows tomatoes. She arranges them in rows, the way she arranged the pills. The geometry is identical. You buy a Patek Philippe Nautilus, $86,000. You wear it to a meeting in Istanbul, and the man across the table nods, and that nod is worth more than any business card because the watch says what the card cannot. I am serious. I am not going away. Level 5, the ghost. 3 passports, Georgian, Turkish through investment, Dominican purchased for $140,000. Bank accounts in 6 countries. No social media. No photograph of you exists online. You travel under the Turkish passport, live in Dubai under the Dominican one. Your operation moves $40 million per year across borders that are porous by design. Because customs officers need the money, governments need the trade, consumers need the products. The official economy is a performance. The unofficial one is the engine. You have a wife, a lawyer from Batumi who works in maritime trade. She knows the shape of what you do. She chose this, eyes open, because she grew up in the same country with the same folding tables and understands that the line between legal and illegal in a post-Soviet economy is drawn in pencil by men who erase it when convenient. Your risk, competitors. The men who control ports, checkpoints, ministers. They do not send lawyers. They send conversations in cars with tinted windows that end with an agreement or a disappearance. You have had 2 such conversations. You agreed both times. The cost, 20% of the cigarette margin. The alternative was not financial. Level 6, the empire. You control corridors. Not products, corridors. Istanbul to Tbilisi. Dubai Odessa. Romania EU. Every container pays a transit fee, 6 to 11%. You are a toll booth on a highway that does not appear on any map. Annual revenue, $14 million. 28 people across 7 countries. None know more than 2 others. Compartmentalization learned from Dato's arrest. 1 connection exposed, 1 man in prison, 1 network dark. You attend a conference in Dubai on emerging market trade infrastructure. You wear a name badge that says Logistics Consultant. You sit in a panel audience listening to a former minister talk about customs modernization and anti-smuggling technology, and you nod thoughtfully while mentally calculating which of the technologies he describes would affect your Romania corridor and which are theater. Most are theater. Governments announce reforms the way your mother arranged pills, in neat rows that look like order. The disorder is underneath. It has always been underneath. You visit your mother twice a year in Metsketa. You sit in the garden eating tomatoes with salt and bread, and she talks about neighbors, weather, flower prices. You do not check your phone. These are the only hours that feel like they belong to a human being instead of a network. Level 7, the wait. An associate is arrested in Bucharest. Europol tip, 12 million cigarettes labeled textile samples. He does not know your name, only a phone number leading to a SIM registered under a man who died in 2014. The chain holds. Cost, $1.8 million. The Romanian corridor goes dark for 7 months. Your wife is pregnant. A boy. You hold him in the hospital in Dubai, eyes closed, mouth open, 3.4 kilograms, and something cracks in your chest. Not breaks. Cracks. A fracture that will widen for years. You want him to have a different life. Not better, he will have everything. Different. A life where shipment means Amazon and customs means a line at the airport, and corridor means a hallway. You want him to be bored by legality. To find it sufficient? But you know what you are. The empire you built to escape the folding table is now the thing keeping you from the life you want for your son. You cannot stop. Stopping means corridors close. Corridors close means associates lose income. Associates lose income means the tinted window conversations resume. The machine runs because it runs. He weighs 3.4 kilograms, the lightest thing you have held in 20 years. Everything else has been getting heavier. The end. You are 43. Balcony in Dubai. The creek is flat and silver. Your son is 3, inside, watching cartoons in Georgian because your wife insists he learn the language. Your mother died 4 months ago, in her sleep, in the house in Metsketa. The tomatoes were still green. You flew to Tbilisi. You stood at the grave and thought about the folding table, the amoxicillin, the expired blood pressure pills in neat rows. A woman who was not a criminal, but was treated as one by a system that had stopped functioning and had no right to judge the people who survived its absence. You are not your mother. She sold medicine to people who needed it. You moved cigarettes and fuel oil through corridors designed to avoid systems designed to regulate them. She was surviving. You are profiting. The distance between those words is the entire moral journey of your life, and you crossed it so gradually you cannot point to the step. There was no door, no threshold, no moment where the ground changed color. It just tilted, degree by degree, and by the time you noticed you were standing at an angle that a 10-year-old carrying boxes would not recognize. Your son walks onto the balcony holding a toy truck. He pushes it along the railing and says, "Delivery, delivery," in Georgian, because he heard the word and liked the sound. Somewhere in Tbilisi, a woman stands behind a folding table. Different face, different pills, same arithmetic. The law does not feed her children. The table does. You were that table's child. You built an empire so you would never stand behind one, and you succeeded, and the corridors are open. And your son says delivery and does not know what it means. You hope he never learns,